morning and welcome to our live talk program. This is Lloyd Grubb here, your host on Revive Reform Radio, doing our live talk program covering natural health. And this year, Wednesday morning, rise and shine and give God the glory. And this morning here, I'm looking at this topic, build real practical value with natural health. So build real practical value with natural health. So welcome. Hopefully you had a blessed night rest and ready to take on the challenges of this day and grab some of the opportunities that come your way. Let us pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, thank you for the blessings of your word this day. And I pray, Lord, that you may continue to be our guide in how best to take care of our bodies and bless ourselves. May you be with us, we pray, for Christ's sake. Amen. So here, I'm looking here with you at this topic, build real practical value with natural health. Build real practical value in natural health. And when we take care of our health and we maintain a healthy body, healthy mind, we are really, in truth and essence, benefiting ourselves. So it is this is what is important. Now, how we look to the outside world is kind of affected by our health, but a lot of time we can be focused on more or less material possession and not focus on really the biggest possession that we have, which is our physical body. This is what we want to be able to put as much care and money into as possible. We build value in ourselves, but primarily not in just what we have outside. I prefer to not have a lot, but have my body in best health, because that's the thing I live in and I interact with the most. So the problem with human nature is we take as much as we can and give as little, not appreciating the value that others bring to the table. And as Christians, we experience taxation without representation and less tax dollars. We get less services for the tax dollars we pay. And so what happened is that for everything that we're losing out of it, whether it be put in the system or whatever, we have to know, well, we have to be able to build back some value. And part of that, I believe, is we build back value by putting some of what we have left back after we've paid our taxes and paid everything that we've paid. We know that some of the money that we have left back is to take care of our physical bodies, to take care of our mind and our minds, and that's what we do. So we approach life in a different way. And when you approach life this, you're building bigger value than somebody that will have large amount of money, but their body go to hell in a handbasket. They really body just fall apart and start falling apart at really young age. So hence, we put a lot in this, and then it builds back value. And we sort of see that there's other value to life than just material possession. So all we gain greater value from what we have left is to experience real, practical, true value and leave off the fake and ceremonial, as I covered yesterday. And so the fake and ceremonial is somebody will spend a whole bunch of money and time with something like makeup, but spend little money on how they feel physically, how they think, and that's how they build their value. So we flip that and we said, no, we're going to put into our physical body and we go feel better, look better in the natural, in the real. It's not something we're trying to cover or fake. This is how I look. This is how I'm looking today. Even if I don't look great today, I wasn't paying attention how I look today. But anyhow, even if I don't look great today, but in general, apples to apples, in comparison to, say, the average person my average age, a big part of my investment is my physical body. So this is how you have to look at life. To me, this is a very important way to look at life. I'll start off with my first text here with Proverbs 3, verse 1 through 4. Proverbs 3, verse 1 through 4, a main text for this week. It says, "My son, forget not my law, but let thine heart keep my commandments. For length of days and long life and peace shall they add to thee. Let not mercy and truth forsake thee. Bind them about thy neck, write them upon the table of thy heart. So shall thou find favor and good understanding in the sight of God and man." So you want to be blessed. You want to be able to have a good life. You keep the commandments of the Lord. You keep them in your heart. That means you have an emotional religion. You have religion, any true Christianity, I should say, starts with the heart. Wherever the heart is, that's where your treasure is at. And so You keep the commandment as something very important while others don't see that value. You see the value in it, and it will give you length of days, long life, and peace. So you have a very peaceful life. And he says, let not mercy and truth forsake thee. And you bind them about thy neck and write them about the tables of thine heart again. Notice a very heart religion is about what you love. And tomorrow I'm going to deal on current events. I'm going to deal with this idea here of let not mercy and truth forsake thee. You want to have this. You want to be very merciful and kind to sinners. We're all sinners here. And other people act as if they're not. And everybody else is a sinner. So when we live like this, what we do, we have a different experience. And our experience, we see life in a different way. And we approach life in a different way. And we build real practical value. And one of the things that we build on is natural health. Now, why this is so is I see this, I'm going to share this text in Luke 12, verse 15. Luke 12, verse 15 is a text that comes to mind as to why would we invest in maintaining good health. Luke 12, verse 15 says, and he said unto them, take heed and beware of covetousness, for a man's life consisteth not in the abundance of the things which he possesseth. So a man's life consisteth not in the abundance of the things he possesses, right? This is not the end of all life. Your financial status, your accumulation of material possession. There is more to life than this. And what it is to me when we become sinful, we are stuck in sin or we're brought up in sin and iniquity, we weren't showed the way of the Lord, we see the value of life as just in material possession. And we work hard like crazy to gain material possession. Often things sometimes happen where we lose it at a certain age and we can't really work anymore for it. And that's the sum of our life. But when you're brought up under the care of the Lord and the Lord sort of show you his way through the word, through the spirit, and through observing life, you start realizing that there's other value to life other than material possession. And there's other things that is of immense value than material possession. And if a person only think that the only value to life is material goods and whatever money can buy, then what it is, they're most miserable. And they normally figure that out at about the average age when people start committing suicide. You know, people either do this when they're very young, in their teens, early 20s, or they do it in their late 40s, 50s, when they realize, wait a minute, I made a mistake. I've invested all in nothing. So hence, there's more to life. There's relationships. There's our mind, educating our mind, the philosophies of the mind. There's spirituality. There's health. And so today we're looking at health. So the value that we put in health is of greater value than our house, our car. Our house is for comfort, and that's semi part of the value that we're putting. We need to be warm and dry. So we need somewhere comfortable to lay. We don't have hoof and we don't have hide. So everything that we do, we kind of view it in a different way. We view it as care, how we care for each other. A person could say they're loving, claim they're loving, or a person could be very caring, and you normally would associate this for a loving person. A person that's kind, a person that will care for you, make sure you're comfortable. You would normally say a person is loving. So a lot of what we view as care is actually love. And so if you see this, then you always say, am I saying that's value? Yes. Love is value. Care is value. Kindness is value. So you could have a person that doesn't have the millions of dollars and they're very caring, they're very kind, they're very loving, they take care of people. And that person have a rich experience, and anyone that is around that person has a rich experience. So the value is greater than what a normal person would think is value. So you could have a person have not a lot of possession, and they're not caring or kind or loving, and you would not say that person is very valuable to be around. They have a lot of money, and I guess if they find the Lord and they start to take on the character of Jesus, then that money propel them to, be able to do more. But the value is in more than just simply material possession. And so when we look at our bodies has to be treated a certain way. I'm always fascinated in how you could have a person with a lot of money and the way they treat themselves, you think they're living on the side of a street. Their care for their physical body is not there. You know, they put most of they'll put more care into a car, into a boat, into a house than they'll put in their physical body. And that tells you that they see the material possession, or at least they interact with the material possession as if that is the real value. But the real value is in the creature comfort, the creature care, and the creature is yourself. And the better a person learns to treat themselves is the better it is to be around them. Because at least they'll know to treat you right. They'll know to care for you right. Because they understand they're dealing with a human being, not an animal. And even animals should be treated with utmost care, because the more care animal treated with, you see they live longer. But it's the same thing with us as human beings. The more care we put into the body, the more you do your physical checkups, the more you make sure that you don't get sick. All these things, you get better longevity, and you get better life. So when I think about the body and I think about the real practical value with natural health, I'm thinking about just the basics. And when we look at the basic is what does the body need for it to be very healthy? Well, first thing I'll say is the body need to avoid being sick, right? So I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. The body need to be a little bit more about it. So the body need to avoid sickness. So most of what we talk about when we talk about care is also just straight up avoiding sickness, because as you know, when you get into a sickness bout, you know, you're sick for a day, few days, it eats a lot of your energy and your stores. Your immune system have to fight, your body has to be fight. If you ever get into a situation where you have to have pain, diarrhea, vomiting, fever, any of that type of stuff, it saps the body, because number one, your body, you start to can't eat, and the body need to be fed, and you're in pain, your immune system is in overdrive, so you're burning off cells, all of that. So care will end up causing you, natural health care will end up causing you to do more to maintain a good healthy body and to avoid feeling sick. So the more you do this is the more you're going to find that you get less sickness bout. But the less sickness bout is a good testimony that you're caring for yourself. But it's also a testimony that you would realize in yourself that what it is that you're not being beaten down and end up being looking haggard. You know, when you get sick, sometimes you just look whipped. So you want to avoid sickness. So how you avoid sickness is just doing some of the regular. So the regular things you do is you start with, you know, how you feeding your body. You want to feed your body the highest quality food that you can buy or you can attain, I can get. So you go to the supermarket, you want to say, what is the best quality food? And you put the best quality food in yourself, what you can get, because sometime in the year you want certain things, it's just not available as much. But if you can find something you say, this is superior quality, grade A or organic, let's put it that way. You get that. You put that in your body and you nourish your body. You put in nutrients in there. You find what part of your body is needing of nutrition more than the other. All of us have a weakness inside of our body, or we have a disease that we're susceptible to. So you have to know what organ is weak in my body or what system is weak. And then you figure out how to feed that. So feed that can be not just the food you eat, but the herbs you take, the supplements you take. Because now you know that if anything is going to go, and you know, they said that the chain is only as strong as its weakest link. So you need to know what's your weak link. What part of your body just doesn't work as good as others. It could be your brain. If I know a person, like if you've been listening to me for a while and say you have a brain weakness and you're not taking herbs and supplements for your brain, you're joking. You should just stop listening to me now. Hopefully you don't sign off. But because you feed the part that is weakness. If you know you have a kidney problem, a liver problem, a stomach problem, a circulatory problem, a skin problem, a eye problem, whatever, you need to feed that part of your body, whatever that part of the body is, because that could be just where you're gonna go sick. Now somebody say, well, I don't go sick there, I'm just weak there. And so say your eye's not working as good. Still feed that part of your body because you don't want to go from not good to worse or to bad or to fall apart altogether. So you feed that part that is either weak or sick or easily gets sick. If you know, as I say, you have something wrong with your knee, you have something wrong with your ankle or wherever, your hip, well, you don't wait until you have to need surgery. You go right in ahead and start doing things to make sure you don't burst your knee open, you don't lose your knee altogether. And you start taking supplements that you know will help you with inflammation and all that. And you be very careful on how you treat your knee. Why? Because you're knowing that the body part that is weakest need the most attention. And that's how you approach it, because again, you're trying to put the value in your physical body. If you know you have a knee problem or hip problem or whatever, lose the weight. You don't just say, I'm gonna, there can be, I can do a hip surgery. You go ahead and lose the weight. You build that value because the value is in your physical body. That's your number one value. And you're approaching life not from the point of view of how people look at you, but from point of view of how you feel. What are you experiencing? And so if you go there, you put this month $300 in your body, you know, and somebody said, man, you put a lot of money in your health, because they're in a different mindset. You're in a different mindset. So you start with nutrition, and then you go ahead and say, I'm gonna need to do some exercise, because what you're doing, you're keeping a machine going. When you think about health, you think about inactivity is death, activity is life. So you want to have life, and you want to have life more abundantly. So part of life is activity. Part of life is movement, is the mechanics of the body. It needs to stretch. It needs to move. It needs to exercise itself. It needs to build. Else, if it doesn't atrophy, it shrinks, it dies. So it's the same thing with water. You put in water, you put in the best quality water that you possibly can have. And you make sure the water that you drink is always from some serious spring water or is filtered. But you don't drink anything but water that is filtered plus distilled, all of that. Why? Because again, your body needs good, clean water. You need good sunlight. You need to have self-control. You need to have you need to have fresh air. I believe, especially because of all these diseases, that everybody should have a filter in their house. Everybody. It doesn't matter if you can't afford it or not. You need to have a filter, at least with a HEPA filter and an ionizer minimum. And I believe a filter with charcoal, HEPA, ionizer, and UV light is in your house, that you, especially in your bedroom when you sleep, you filter your air. That makes sure you get the best quality air. Your body needs this, and especially when we're talking about all these diseases, whether it be flu, which is what I'm going to talk about a little bit later, which be flu or the coronavirus or any of these viruses, they're upper respiratory or respiratory viruses. So you want to be able to treat your lungs, right? You want to be able to treat your lungs. You want to be able to take care of your system as much as possible, because what it is that you're putting in that value in yourself, and everybody can afford to put value in themselves. It's an investment in you. You're putting the investment in your body, and you're putting away, and you're putting is time and money. So there's people who they eat too much at fast food restaurants or eat too much at slow food restaurants. You need to spend some time and put some time to prepare a salad, to prepare some fresh foods, to prepare things to put in your body, because you become what you eat. And why? The more value you put in your body by, as I say, investing time and money into your body, what will happen is that you're more able to not catch certain diseases, or any disease. And when you do catch it, you're able to fight better, because your body is more nourished. Your body is more able to take the hit. And your body has more antioxidants, because all antioxidants are, which are the colors in our fruits and vegetables. What those things do is that they make the body take the hit for the accident. These are whatever smoke, whatever toxins, chemical, viruses, whatever come in. They take the hit and they die, so to speak. They neutralize. So the more you have of antioxidants, the more nutrients, green, orange, yellow, all those nutrients that are in the plant that you partake of in your diet, is the more you're able to either ward off whatever bad coming your way, or fight when you do get something. But if you don't have that in you, then your body doesn't have much to fight with. You see, many people believe, I remember in the past, I've heard people who are even medical professional believe that it's your physical size that make you stay healthy and ward off disease. This is the past thinking. And so if you follow their logic, you would think that a person is 600 pounds would be the most powerful, the person has the most ability in a powerful way to fight off disease. But you think it would not be so. Is the person who has the most vitality, the most antioxidants in their system, the person who has a more stronger immune system, person who have better blood, better circulation. They're not clogged up already. The body doesn't have to deal with all the other mess that has to come in. So when we are talking about health, again, you talk about what you put into the body, how you care for the body. How do you deal with your surrounding, how clean your surrounding is, how often do you change your bed linen, how often do you change your clothes. When you sweat into clothes and the clothes start smelling, you cannot put that clothes back on your body. You're reintroducing the toxins that your body release back onto the body. You free yourself of that. So you're always removing toxins and you're always feeding the body. You cleanse and nourish. So when you do this, it's going to cost you something. So the cost is, you have to look at it as any investment. So somebody could say, no, I'm putting all my investment in retirement. Yes, that's in the future. But if you put in all your investment in retirement and your body's falling apart today, you're making a terrible mistake. You put the investment now. I would honestly prefer that you come to retirement and you have no money invested and you have a phenomenal body. Then you come to retirement and a year later you drop dead because you've overworked yourself. You have not invested in your physical health and your body fell apart and you drop dead and you never enjoy that retirement. And then somebody inherit that retirement. And what was the point? Now, if you can do both, that's what you need to do. But at least I say, gauge that, and look at what you're doing. I'm going to retire with all this money and I'm going to drop dead. And then I'm going to enjoy the retirement. And take care of your body. Retire and feel like you're 55 and retire at 65 because you put some money in the body. But you have retirement income. I'm just giving this as a example. This is not my target for this morning here. But if you have retirement income and you can basically live off it until you're 90, but at 66 you drop dead, and not because a car run you over, but because you basically you didn't put nothing in your body. Well, what's the point? That's a bad investment. So that's why I love this text where Christ says, beware of covetousness, because a man's life consisted not in the abundance of the things which he possessed. And so this is not the value of life. The only value of life cannot be material possession. You have to look at it and say you need to be able to have a chair to sit on, have a house to live in and all that. But if you're going to come down with some terrible diseases because you just never invested in anything that is worth, anything to do with health, then it is ridiculous. I respect a person who somebody will say they're a health nut. Because I think that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing to, have a balanced life and have all these things going on for you. And one of that balanced part of the life is to make sure that life does not consist in just material possession, but that you go out there and say, I'm going to buy a piece of equipment to exercise and then use the equipment. Just don't buy it to have it as furniture. Use it. It's okay, as I say, to invest. I think, in here at least, or in most industrialized countries, everybody can afford a filter. You go buy a filter system to filter out the air. Buy a filter system where at least the water that you drink is filtered, or invest in filtered water or bottled water, so that you're putting invest in the either grade A foods or foods that are organic or tree ripened. It's just putting it in your stomach. It's for you. It's gonna help your mind. It's gonna help your whole attitude. Stay away from all the crazy meats, and you find that you're just putting it into your body. You're benefiting yourself. But some people don't see that. They think that if they do that, oh, that's just so much money you spend on health. Well, what am I gonna do with the money? Put it in the bank, put it in a car, put it in a house. Now for home, One of the biggest thing that you want for your house is the house to be dry, right? The Bible emphasizes a lot, and you can see this is a very important thing to avoid mold. So the house needs to be clean. Everywhere in the house needs to be clean and dry, especially the basement and the bathroom and kitchen. Clean, dry house, warm. So part of your investment is to make sure that your house is warm. You shouldn't be in a damn cold house. You should be in a house that's dry. And in the winter, probably have to use a humidifier to put back air, to put back oxygen or water or moisture in the air. But for the most part, the house needs to be dry and warm and need to be very comfortable and clean. And that's normally the main aim of a house. If you have a house and it's a splendor to look at and it's glorious, but you can't keep it cold. Can't keep it cold in the summer, and you can't keep it warm in the winter, and it can't be dry. Well, you need to go trade that house in and go buy a smaller house that you can warm. You're investing in your body. The house is there not for looks, it's there for practical use. But we can get into this material possession cycle that we forget that things is for our comfort and for our use. And we start to get on the adornment side and the fashionable side. And we have the things there for the fashion. I realize that many people have some of the most beautiful kitchens, but they don't use the kitchen. The kitchen is just there for look. And when I say use, they might probably use it to make some tea or stuff like that. But they're not really using it. The kitchen is there to be used. The bathroom is there to be used. Your washer and dryer is there to be used. You need to make it. You can run your washing machine and your dryer regular, and it will last you 10 years. That's how they build these things. Make sure they're being used. It is important because the cleaner you are in your mind, in your body, in your surrounding, is the more you're going to avoid diseases, because most diseases are coming from all the above. Unclean surrounding, unclean mind. Many people have a diseased mind. Their mind are diseased. And so they're sick because their mind is sick. Many diseases come because the dampness of where we live. Never live in a basement, unless the basement is above ground, semi above ground or something. Never live where it's damp. Always have dry surrounding. Always have warmth. We are human. We are human beings. We cannot take anything that is outside of 72 to 74 degrees, or 70 to 74, depends on how much fat layer you have, or little fat layer you have. But we can't take too much of a change in temperature. We need to be warm all the time. We need to be dry. We need to be clean. And we need to be always clean. And you do that, you find that it's going to take some investment of time and money. But you're not going to regret the investment of time and money, because you're living in your physical body. And this is what the Lord expects of you. We're intelligent creatures. We ought to know this. And if we don't know this, then that's why I'm here encouraging you. In 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 19, 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 19, it says, what? Know ye not that your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost, which is in you, which ye have of God, and you are not your own. So the Bible explains to us that we are bought with a price, and because of that, we need to glorify God in our mind, in our body, in our spirit. In everything that we have, we need to love God. And one of the things that we know how God is, that God is a God not only of order, God is a God of discipline, but God is a God of cleanliness. When we think about God and we think about Leviticus, they have come up with this phrase, cleanliness is next to godliness. So when we think about the temple was something that had peace. Even when they were constructing the temple, they did not chisel or hammer or do anything on site. Everything was kind of pre-finished and then brought in and slide into place. So when we talk about our temples, our bodies being a temple, we treat our body with utmost respect. We clean. We don't get into perversion, because perversion is uncleanness. So how you look and how you feel should be a very important thing, because when you think about a temple, you think about some place where a few things about a temple here. So a temple normally somewhere that is there for worship. And so we are the temple of the Holy Ghost. So in our body, we'll treat it like how we physically treat a temple. A temple is normally built a certain way, where, there's the outer courtyard, there's the holy place, there's the most holy place. Our minds normally are viewed as the most holy place. In our front of our head, our frontal lobe of our mind is where we keep the commandments of the Lord. This is similar to the temple structure in the Old Testament. But in the temple system, on the outer courtyard, they will have the sacrifice, and the blood of the sacrifice and stuff will be ministered inside for prayer. But and in the holy place, there would be no blood be brought in there. So our animal. So when we think about that, we think about what we put into our bodies. We want to put the best food. We want to put a grain offering. We want to put things that are going to be a blessing to us. We want to make sure the temple is clean at a certain time. I believe in regular cleansing. I believe even if you do some fast where for a few days you just eat fruits and vegetables, you take some herbal teas to clean yourself out. You got to clean the whole, look at how the way the Lord built the earth and to build our bodies, that we're constantly taking in nutrients and we purge. And whatever you do with health, you always deal with that process. You take in nutrients and you purge. And so you look at the temple, the whole idea of the temple is that there's a buildup of waste, so to speak, because sin is brought in the temple and then it's ceremonially purged. And we function the same way. You know, there's a certain buildup and then we cleanse. And that's just how the body works. That's how the temple works. So know ye not that you're the temple of the Lord. A major focus of the temple is cleansing. You know, that's the focus of the temple. Cleansing from sin, atonement for sin. That's the whole process. And so when we get into the holy place, it is to come into oneness with God. Well, one of the part of coming to oneness with God is that you have to cleanse. You have to remove impurities in order to come into oneness with God. You have to get rest. That's another part of the temple. The temple starts out with a lot of activity, but by the time you get into the most holy place, you have to be in reverent awe of God. And so when we deal with this, it's the same thing with our minds. Sometimes there's too much hustle and bustle. We need to have peace. There's too much going and, coming and going. We need to have peace and we need to stop and take time for ourselves. So sometimes I just view time for ourselves is when we clean. You just stop. You just turn off everything and you just take a break. You listen to probably some music. You turn on Revive Reform Radio and then you go clean. You go wash your plates. You go clean your linen and you listen to some cleansing music, some sermons, some Bible. That's part of it. Stop. You think about the regular person out there that don't stop to clean. What are they doing? What is it they're doing? What is it that me you doing that we can't stop to vacuum, to mop, to sweep, to prepare some salad, to prepare some food? What is it that we're doing? What is it that any human being do that they can't stop for a second to wash their bed linen, to wash stuff out? They're not putting in an investment. Somebody say, well, yeah, but Lord, that's not investment. That's me losing time. No, it's investment in your body. It's a different type of investment. Everything is not about material possession. Something is about simply taking care of yourself. Something is just stop and say, I'm going to make something special to eat. I'm going to make something different. I'm going to go to the store and buy something that I normally eat. And I'm going to buy to use it. I'm going to buy and use some fresh herbs. I'll make a meal, and the meal going to have a nice oregano or thyme or some type of herb in it, flavor that I'm going to want it fresh. And you're doing that for yourself. You treat yourself. You sometimes be drinking something and you drink something freshly juice, some fresh apple juice. And you say, that's for me. You put that time in it. But in order for you to do that, you have to stop. You have to treat the temple as if the Spirit is in there because the Lord is inside of your heart. And you have to treat it as if, how would God want me to treat my body? And you say, what is it that God want me to do for my body? And you put that time in there. But when you're hustling and bustling and you're trying to get all the world's entertainment, get all the world's good, have more stuff that you can maintain, heading house to house and land to land. It's a point where you're like, what happened? Instead of me investing in another house, I'm going to put some of that money into my body. Instead of me have to run down and worry about renters, I'm going to worry about me. I'm going to make sure that, probably once a week, once every a month, once every 2 weeks, I fill up the bath and I put some Epsom salt or I put some, essential oils or I make a pot of tea and I pour it in there with some herbs to, cleanse my body. And I go lay in that. And I said, this is for me. I'm going to treat my body well. I'm going to purge myself and I'm going to give myself a nice relaxed bath. But there's people who have no time for that. No time. And it's not because they don't have no money, because I'm telling you, there's money for that. It's not that expensive. They go buy some loose leaf tea, get a pot of water, boil it, throw it in the tub, fill up with water, pour some essential oil in there, and go sit down and say, "This is for me. I'm doing this for me." And you feel good. You rinse off, bathe off, and you go get a good night's sleep. Or you get a good night's sleep. You wake up, you feel refreshed. Who is that hurting? Now somebody said, "Well, that's going to take too much time and money." Well, what are you going to put the time and money into? Your car, into your house, into what? It's going to be you. You're going to feel good. You're going to feel refreshed. You're going to feel healthy. That's for you. You can have that. But somebody will be running and they have to run here. They have to go to this party. They have to go turn up at this place and turn up at that place. And they look and feel like garbage. And in the moment something come around, they get sick and they can't recover. And I'm like, that life can't be about everything else. So that's when we come to Lord, readjust us. It's like He almost take us and spin us around and say, go in that direction. You're moving in the wrong direction. You see life in a different way. So we see life differently. So your body is the temple. And as I say, a temple is somewhere for worship. Also a temple, it's sometimes you can view a temple as the other word would be as like a sanctuary. What a sanctuary is a zone. It's a zone where something is protected, something has protection, and it has a buffer. And that's how you have to treat your body. You have a buffer. What is that buffer? You the buffer. You have a buffer around you. And you start to treat yourself as if, everything can be going to hell in a basket, but my physical body, my environment is different. My apartment, my condo, my townhouse, my house, my Mac mansion, my mansion is a zone. And within that zone, there are certain principles that will be applied to the temple that have to apply. What are the principles? When I come to my house, I take my shoes off, I wash my hand. First action I do before I touch anything, make sure my hands are washed. Shoes are off because I don't know what I stepped into when I was on the street. And I treat my house as if it's a sanctuary. I remember the first time I was visiting somebody I was working with, and I went to their house, and he went on his bed with his shoes, and the wife started screaming. He's like, "Get off there!" And I'm like, what was he thinking? You walk right off the street and you step into all kind of stuff. People spit on the road. There's animal feces. And you step into all that and you walk right into your bed. And then you go later on curl up in your bed and, bathe, hopefully, and put on your whatever clothes and curl up in bed. And then you're thinking there's a different mindset. Also, you find, I've seen like sometimes I go to the store and there's someone in the store in their pajamas and their bed slippers walking, and the bed slippers is dragging, not his bed slippers, the pajamas back. The foot of it is dragging on the dirt and cleaning the earth and the sidewalk and everything. And then that person is going to go back into the bed. And you wonder why it is sick. So our home, our physical body, because if our body is the temple of the Lord, we can't have it as a sanctuary, as a temple. If our surrounding is filth or garbage, so we clean out. And does that mean that you cannot get sick? No, it doesn't mean you can get sick. But again, the aim is if you get sick, you can recover and you cannot, avoid you dying unnecessarily. Then the next thing also is make you able more to ward off the disease, because you have a zone and your body is that zone and your house is that zone. And then what it does is also the level of health that you have. So you can look and feel healthier because you're not getting sick and your body is always in a good treatment. And as I say, apples to apples, you will not look like angels, I assume. You could. But you will at least feel like you're getting there because your body will be stronger and you'll have less sickness about. And I always say this here. If you can take some of these principles and you can go through the year, and if last year you got sick, say 8 times, a little cold here, stomach virus here, blah, blah, and you follow these principles, and this year you only got sick 4 times, That's 100% improvement, or you slash your sickness by 50%. And what you find is that as you do that, you start learning how to avoid sickness. And what you'll find is that you will do the following year, where you go the whole year and never get sick, not even one time. And when you start doing that, you start saying, wait a minute, what's the value in that? That's part of the value. Where you're going from regular bouts of sickness to the point where you just don't get sick. And if you get sick, you recover faster. Then you say that's the value. And that's the value we're talking about. You build real practical value with natural health. So this is not ceremonial. This is not like you come here, I'm preaching to you, and you say, oh, you're teaching, but it's just all these, principles that are floating out there in the air. No, these are practical principles that the Bible will tell us. This is how you need to live. And when you live like this, you're going to get the value that it is there. So notice here, I read this text yesterday, and I want to read this text again. In Matthew chapter 9, verse 35, it's 35 through 38. And it says, and Jesus went about all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues, preaching the gospel of the kingdom, healing every sickness and every disease among the people. So I'll pause there. So what many people will say that I just need prayer. Prayer is all I need. Most of Christianity, this is what they teach. The problem with this is that you could read it, say you don't pick up what's going on. So when you read the Old Testament, Genesis to Malachi, you hardly hear of sicknesses. Sickness is not mentioned much because, again, if you follow the Bible narrative, what the Bible says is simply this, that when Adam and Eve was created, they were much physically bigger, stronger, taller, all that. As the years went by, as the rebellion deepened, human beings became weaker, smaller, and sicker. By the time you get into now, there's a quietness for about, 500 years or so between Malachi and Matthew. By the time you get to John the Baptist, sickness was a big issue. And other issues that are not mentioned in the Old Testament are rarely mentioned. Demon possession, all this type of stuff. So people's minds were messed up. Demon possession and mental affliction are two different things that the Bible talks about. So we see that transition. So when the Bible says that they were healing the diseases then and the sickness, every sickness, it is not clear that he was healing heart problems or diabetes. Most of what we call, or 85% of the diseases that we experience is lifestyle diseases. But he was healing diseases that, what the Bible cataloged, are primarily diseases that are genetic diseases. People born with withered hands, crippled, people having all kind of issues like that. Now, even the woman with the issue of blood, is not clear what exactly is going on there. It could be a simple mean. She needed, in modern times, you would just say she needs some herbs like red raspberry leaf, damiana, various different herbs for female reproductive problems. And many people have used these herbs and it dry up the issue of blood. And you can actually use herbs like, I think, Vitex, and it will start your menstrual cycles. If somebody's having a problem with menstrual flow, you could just kick it into overdrive where it's at stop. Why, if you want to make it regular, you take other herbs and it will regulate it. If a person having menopause, they take herbs like black quash and it will start the kill that or limit or reduce the hot flash. So anyhow, so if you take that into consideration, healing all these diseases and stuff like that. And in other times you do clay, you do various different things to show that natural remedies is fine. So when we look at this now, most of the diseases that people have, that all they're praying for in these churches, they never get healing from, which is the point, is diseases that are lifestyle diseases. So a person eats all these donuts and all this type of stuff, and they now having diabetes because it's fried, it's sugar. So it's multiple reasons why it's going to spike your blood sugar and mess up your pancreas. It's a lifestyle disease. So they go to the preacher pray over them, and they still drop dead. And so we believe in the prayer. We believe that the prayer is needed for the healing, to lay on hands and all that. But when we talk about certain lifestyle diseases, the prayer is more for the person to change their diet and lifestyle, and the disease go. And it's a miracle. The herbs work, the lifestyle work. But that's part of their investment, because you wouldn't say a person that's on the path to type 2 diabetes is a person that takes much care of their body. This is not the reality. If I say there's 100 cases, I don't know if there's even one that would be somebody you say really take care of their body and going on a certain path. They're doing something to cause the disease. If you see a person dying with pancreatic cancer, most of the time this is a person who drink coffee out of control. So a person drinking coffee out of control normally come down with pancreatic cancer. So this again is to me a lifestyle cancer, smokers, lung cancer, and so forth and so on. So again, Christ was healing their diseases, but in our modern time, we find that there's still genetic diseases that is only through a miracle that they're going to be relifted. But even with these genetic diseases, what they've found is that some of them, it's just best to still live a healthy lifestyle. But especially when it comes on to diseases that are onset by lifestyle choices, what we do, we approach those diseases with lifestyle modification. But those modification can simply be summed up: you're taking care of your body. You start to exercise. You start to change the way you eat, when you eat, volume of food you eat. You started to change what is the composite or what is made up of the food on your plate. So instead of having high protein, high carb, you start having low carb, lower protein, more vegetables, more root vegetables and stuff like that. Your potatoes and your carrots and stuff like that. So you change up the way you eat, and what happens comes the result. Then you add herbal remedies to that, and then the results come. It's a change in how you approach taking care of your body. Start to sleep more, exercise, getting more routine, getting some peace in your life. And this is what will happen. So this Christ had compassion, it says in verse 36, on the multitude. And it says really there's a great harvest. There's more people who need to learn these principles, but the laborers are few. So with that, I want to talk about, before I run out of time and I go to anything else, I want to talk about what's going on now with the coronavirus, since that's current events. So as you know, as I read this morning, the coronavirus is this virus that is corona, meaning like it's like a crown in the formation of the little strands of the virus. And this virus is similar to like SARS and stuff like that. It's an upper respiratory tract infection that is at a broad outbreak in what we call Wuhan, China. I'd covered for the last 3 weeks. Talked about it, reported a little bit on it. And it's a virus that is now, it's if you haven't heard about it, then I don't know. But so it's a virus now that is reached, let's say, 24,000 as of this morning, which would be probably midday for them, or afternoon, evening. As of today, it is 24,000 infected, 490, I think, died, confirmed cases. And I think there's over 600 or 700 recovered, which is a good number. Because the recovery is saying at least that there's people who are recovering, so that means they're figuring out what to do to treat the person when they go into the hospital. As you know, it's overflowed or overwhelmed the Chinese health system, which is normally not probably the best, but they'll be better than most countries. It is causing not a scare right now, but not too much, because there's not been any human-to-human transmission outside of somebody transmitting it to their family. So there's been human-to-human transmission within the United States, I should say, but not to somebody outside of their family. Also, just kind of a summary of what I've been reading on the news. As of this morning, there was yesterday I remember reading that there was I think it's called Princess Cruise over in Japan. There's a cruise liner with I think over 4,000 people on there, including staff and guests on the cruise ship, and they had found one person with the coronavirus. Now they have confirmed that 9 people, so 10 people in total, one staff, and then multiple people from different countries who were on that cruise ship. So now it's on a quarantine for 7 to 14 days. So this is the type of thing now that is important to note, because when we're talking about an epidemic like this, then we have to be very careful where you travel, where you're at, who you come in contact with, because of this thing. So the coronavirus now, as I said, as of this morning I read, is 24,000 with 490. So I'm assuming by the time the day's out, it'll be probably over 500 that would have died. Now, many people kind of downplaying this, some of the experts, because they're saying the flu, as I'd covered, I think last week, so far in America has killed upwards of 18,000 people. And the season is still, we are still probably 6 weeks to 2 months out from the end of the season, which is not one of the record breaking season. The record breaking season happened, I think, 2015 or something like that. So still, what they'll say, the flu killed thousands more every year, which is true. The problem with that is that they've been having over 2,000 cases, or they are confirming over 2,000 cases a day. The problem with that is that's exponential growth. When you have exponential growth, the aim is to stop it. The main way to stop it is quarantine. They've been quarantining. They've shut down over 50 million people from how many cities have been quarantined. And yet, because you realize the disease was already running rampant, so the disease was already ahead, because when they finally announced the disease, which was at the end of December, the disease was already detected from the beginning of December. So the disease had a whole month ahead of the medical system, or ahead of the proper alerting the world that we have a disease. So people were traveling for a whole month, it seems, or at least 3 weeks before they finally came out and say, hey, this is a problem. Let's quarantine. Well, by the time the quarantine taking effect, people are already, gone, because people are already moving. And, China has one of the largest population with the largest movement and migration. And it happened at a time when people were traveling for holidays, which is the largest human migration on the planet. So some of that is numbers that is already, we're not really counting a month, we're counting really 2 months, I would say minimum. Well, also what you find is that normally it was jumping about 2,000 something people a day being confirmed. Well, all of a sudden this morning they say, well, we jumped 4,000, which is what the threat is. The threat is not the volume of people dying because he has a low percentage of death. The problem is this number of cases keep coming up. The thing so far is that the cases has been confined to China, or to Chinese, which in a way is kind of what I'm trying to understand myself. Is it because part of the thing is the disease, they have confirmed now by genetical test that the disease has a root in bats. So the genome of the disease is linked to bats. So is it that it is more virulent amongst people who eat a certain diet? Because what I've noticed with diseases, that they'll kind of stay primarily so far within whatever population has the outbreak, because the population have something in common. They've eaten certain meats, because all these diseases are meat-based diseases, or animal-based disease. When the Mercs happened in the Middle East, it stayed in the Middle East amongst people who eat camels. And the Bible forbid the eating of things like camel and bats and stuff like that. So that's part of the thing that I've been observing. Now it becomes troubling if it jumps and start to jump in other country and start to do transmission. Then we really have a problem. But anyhow, so my main concern there, because somebody said, well, what would be, you'll be alarmed? I'll be alarmed. I'm alarmed because of the number, because they say it was doing 2,000 a day, which is phenomenal number. If you keep extrapolating that number out, what we'll see by the end of February would be mind-boggling if that number doesn't stop. The hope is that within another week or so, that it drops back from because now they went from 2,000 a day to 4,000, which, if you do the math, is crazy numbers. And that's why it's so scary, even though the medical say, oh, no, don't worry about it. It's not a trouble here. Yeah, not really a trouble here until if that number goes, say, from, say, 4 to 8, then you start to see it's going to be a panic. So what to do? Not much can be done, in the sense that, be careful where you go. What I'm finding out is one of the things that you have to do, as I say, first thing is that all the time you'll pick the disease. The disease can be airborne, which is troubling, but you pick the disease up by touching surface. I think they say the disease can live 3 days, which is phenomenal, on a surface, a non-porous surface. So that's important to get some hand sanitizers. So when you're out in public, as I say, first thing you come home, you wash your hand. The same principles that always apply. But get some hand sanitizers that if you're in your car, you're driving around, you go somewhere, you have to touch the doorknobs. because I think 3 days ago on Monday they detected it on a doorknob, which is fascinating. They lifted it off a doorknob and tested it. It tested positive for the disease. So the person could sneeze in their hand and then touch a doorknob, and the disease is on the doorknob. You touch the doorknob, you put your hand in your face, your mouth, you scratch your eye, you catch the disease, which is just fascinating stuff. So, hand sanitizers are important. Again, most of the principles that we learn in the Old Testament in Leviticus are the same principles that apply. Quarantine, hand sanitizers to clean, washing your hands most naturally. For what I'm hearing is there's on the shelves there seemed to be a shortage. At least that's what I was told, of hand sanitizers. Now on Monday, if I text everybody and as much people as I can and say if you can buy a face mask, which is another thing that's important because the disease can go airborne. Buy air masks. Now online air masks are as of yesterday I think were sold out. They've been sold out from probably over the weekend in America. So you can't go on Amazon unless they restock. But up until yesterday my check, you could not go on Amazon and buy air masks. Sold out, no mask. Hand sanitizers, I'm going to almost put my word on it that there's going to be a run on that. If the moment it goes too higher, people are going to realize that says this thing could be a problem. And so hand sanitizers, just have them. If you don't use them in this time, you always need them. I always think it's a good thing to have some in your car. And if you have a purse, then you have some in your purse. And if you have a merce or something, a man purse, you keep them in there so that if you're in a bind, you somewhere you need to touch where other people are touching, just make sure you wipe off your hand, clean your hand so that you don't have the disease. But this is the same protocol you follow if there's a flu. It's the same thing. The only problem is you have two things running at the same time now. And this is taking over the news, but the current flu epidemic that's going on right now is vicious. It's vicious. Everybody that had it, they tell me it's tough. It's hard to beat. Even after you overcome it, you're still having a dry cough. And it's you feel like you have pneumonia. So some of these principles, you do the same thing to avoid getting it inside of your system. Because when you get it, now you have to fight it. Another thing is important, I mentioned before, is have some oil of oregano tincture. Oil of oregano tincture. I know you use that, as I said last week. You get like a teaspoon of olive oil or sunflower oil. You drop 4 drops of oil of oregano, so you calm it down, so it's not as burning, because oil of oregano will burn you like crazy. And you take the oil of oregano in the morning, in the evening. So when you're going to leave out to go to work, or when you have to go outside, you just take it. What it'll do, it'll kill any bacteria. The aim, at least, is supposed to kill any bacteria in your throat. So if you have something developing because you inhale something or whatever you have, you fight it. As I say, add air filter, add a filter for your water. Take herbs for 2 things: for immunity and herbs for inflammation. Herbs for immunity would be things like echinacea, powdark, inner bark, garlic. Take herbs for your mucus, which is golden seal is the number 1 herb for mucus. It will help clean out your mucous membrane. Take herbs for inflammation. Herbs for inflammation, why? Because for what I've been looking at with the respiratory, any of the respiratory illnesses, MERS, SARS, coronavirus, your regular flu, is that what it is affecting your ability to process air or process oxygen or whatever you want to call it. So what it is, the alveoli in the lungs, they're little sacs that process the air and put it into the bloodstream. Well, they get inflamed, and there's an inflammation in the whole system and around the lungs, and so the air can pass into the blood. So that system is not only clogged, but it's also inflamed. So what you want to do is take herbs to take down that inflammation, so to help your body be able to breathe. So if you're having a flu, it's the same process. If you're having the current flu that's going around, it's affecting you in a similar way, making you feel like you're having pneumonia. There's a swelling in the lung tissue. Well, what you do, you take herbs that will take down that inflammation. So one of the main ones would be your regular turmeric. You take some ginger, you take some cayenne, and not too hot, and you do anything that will, any herb you go online that take down inflammation. You buy those, you take those, because what it is taking the inflammation down so that there's not a barrier built up because they're swollen, and so that the air can get through to your blood so you can breathe easier. And those are some of the things you need to do. I'll read for closing, went over a little bit over time here. But you see, these are all investments that you're making into your body that if you get sick, you recover faster. Or if you get in contact, your body can fight it off before you get sick. If you start feel like you're getting sick, you hit all of this real hard and, increase the amount of water you drink, flush your system out, take the immune formulas, take the stuff to take the inflammation down so that your lungs you get, oxygen into your blood vessel. Matthew 13 verse 8 says, "But other fell into good ground and brought forth fruit, some 100-fold, some 60, and some 30. I hope that you'll multiply. I hope that you'll increase. I hope that you'll do well with the things that I say here, that you just don't hear it and it fall on deaf ears. Take your precaution. If you can go out, get some hand sanitizers, because I'm hearing they're buying them up like hot bread. As I say, you want to just basically take care of yourself. It worth the investment. Let us pray. Thank you, Lord, again for the direction that you give us, the teachings you give us, the way that you continue to instruct us on how best to take care of our bodies, to be clean and to nourish and strengthen our bodies. May you bless us in our efforts to maintain healthy bodies and to take care of our families. This is my prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. Thanks for being with me here on Revive Reform Radio. Looking forward to talking to you again live tomorrow morning where we should talk about current events. Until then, I pray that you may continue to walk with the King.